Republicans, and I want to welcome you all here to this debate that we have set up for our county commissioner candidates. So with that said, I just want to welcome you here, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Bill Klein, who will be the moderator for the debate today. Okay, thank you.
Well, we're being a moderator today, both sides. You're going to be on TV. And before we get started, I want to thank Katie Jacobson for being here today. The commission's well represented. Reviewing quickly the rules in the county debates. I'm your moderator. Each candidate has given us, let's see, each candidate will be standing at their respective podiums, and each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. We'll just start with that in a moment. We've had a coin toss. Rick Beasley won the coin toss, and he chose to go second. Each candidate has supplied 6 questions, and we've chosen 3 each of those, and we've added 7 more, so we have a total of 13 questions for the candidates today. I will ask each candidate the same question, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Candidates will alternate turns, being first. After the moderator has asked a series of questions, and each candidate will be given up to 2 minutes to answer questions from the audience. When all questions have been answered or 80 minutes have elapsed, the moderator will have each candidate give a 3-minute closing statement. And with that, I would like to introduce our candidates, starting with County Commissioner Claire Hall. Born in Portland, Oregon, 1959, graduated from John Adams High School in 1977. Ms. Hall has a BA degree from Pacific University and an MS degree from Northwestern. She worked at KBSP Public Radio in Portland, then moved to Newport in 1987, becoming a radio personality, which is when I first met. She was elected county commissioner in 2004, re-elected in 2008, 2012, 2016, and again in 2020. Her candidate today is Rick Dean Beasley. He simply says he's a soldier, logger, and journalist. He was born in 1951 in Lindsay, California, graduated from Staten High School in 1969, and attended the University of Oregon. Spent 8 years in the Oregon National Guard as a first lieutenant platoon leader. He's the owner of Boiler Bay RV Park and an award-winning publisher at Beacon Media since 1997. Gentlemen, thank you. Excuse me. We're going to give Claire her first 3 minutes, starting now.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you everybody for being here, especially on an August Saturday afternoon on the Oregon coast. I think there are a lot more enjoyable things you might be doing today, but nothing more important, because your elected leadership matters, all the way from the White House to the county courthouse to City Hall to your road district. During my time in office, my great focus has been poverty, homelessness, healthcare, and veteran services. That's what gets into the headlines. What doesn't get into the headlines, I think, is good, solid fiscal management of the organization. That means delivering balanced budgets as required by law, and delivering them without tricks, without borrowing, without anything, keeping a long-term vision of priorities in mind. And for instance, I think it might surprise some of you to know that general fund, 50% of it is for public safety functions, 34% goes to the sheriff, and that's exactly how it should be. But this is not the way it operates in every county. A couple of months ago, Curry County tried to pass a law enforcement levy to maintain sheriff services. It failed. They sent 11 of 13 deputies out the door. Never happened on my watch. So, I think we have made great progress, great strides over the last 4 years. We've come back from COVID, we've come back from the Echo Mountain fire. We've got lots of positive momentum, and I would be very honored if you'd let me continue working as part of the team, building a stronger, better Lincoln County. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I appreciate more than ever, now that I'm a city councilor, the role that you play in government. And it's very difficult. And I said at the League of Women's Voters that I felt that Claire was my opponent. She is not. My opponent is the dynamic that has us in the jam we're in right now. Because 3 people run this county. And I think I can, if I'm elected, make a difference and change that dynamic for the positive. My name is Rick Beasley. I'm a husband and father and a 34-year resident of Lincoln County. As Bill said, in my life, I've been an infantry platoon leader. I've been a logger. I was for many years in this county a journalist, and now I'm a businessman. I have been molded throughout my entire life to be heedful of threats, watchful for opportunities, and clear-headed about the situation. I am running now for county commissioner because I've seen with my own eyes a decline in our personal safety and the quality of life in Lincoln County. If you peer closely, we have 1,000 square miles of chaos on important fronts, such as the erosion of public safety, this issue of unrelenting homelessness, the lack of decent workforce housing for the workers of this county, totally unacceptable levels of rural sprawl that affect every city in this county and put added burdens on our water and sewer plants to the point that many are failing at this stage. We are seeing right now the decline of vital industries, including tourism and our mills. And we have these ongoing environmental threats, which are produced to some degree by rural sprawl, to some degree by logging practices, but whatever they are, they're all self-inflicted wounds. So let me tell you something about myself and how I think I can change this, how I can make a difference. I was elected to a cash-strapped road district, and I led a winning war on potholes. I then served on a city finance committee that saved my hometown thousands of dollars, and I identified overlooked sources of revenue, which is exactly what's gone on in the county. On the budget committee, I opposed sweetheart deals and pet projects. Voted to the city council, I oversee emergency planning, advocate for transparency, and serve as an envoy on watershed issues. And if elected to this county commission, I intend to rebuild the bombed out bridges between the county commission and law enforcement. Thank you.
All right, we're going to start a series of questions. And the first question reads, if the main drivers of homelessness are addiction, mental health issues, temporary hardship, and lifestyle choices, what will you do to address these fundamental problems? And since Claire started, Rick, you're going to be first up.
Gosh, I thought I had a whole file on homelessness here, so I'm going to take it from the copy. My feeling is that we cannot solve homelessness in Benton County, in Multnomah County, in Lane County. We can't solve it anywhere except in Lincoln County. And I believe we can solve it with the resources we have. Now, our county just spent thousands of dollars to produce a homeless plan, a $1 million homeless plan. But it overlooks one thing in this 175-page document. It completely overlooks the role of the police, the courts, in solving this problem. And that is where you have to start. A lot of people don't want to hear that. But for many years, this has been the front line in our attempts to solve this problem, and it should be that way, and it has to be enhanced. I was at a meeting just last week, and I heard Lieutenant Wynn up in Lincoln City almost echo my own plan. And that is, if you defecate in a bucket on Highway 101 or in a stall of a store, if you are drunk in public, if you and your friends take over a Lincoln County bus shelter, you will be arrested on a misdemeanor charge. And this goes for anybody, houseless or housed. And we'll find out what your problem is. We'll clean you up, we'll get you in a program, and if you finish that program, then you can get out, you can get on the pathway out of jail, because with a misdemeanor, you can be in jail for 60 to 90 days. And we are going to fix you. And when word gets out that Lincoln County deals with the homeless in a positive fashion like this, you'll see a lot of this chronic homelessness evaporate.
Mr. Mulholland, do you have a repeat on the question?
No. First off, being homeless in and of itself is not a crime. And I'm going to argue that we are already fixing homelessness. Yesterday, I was with a group in Lincoln City dedicating 44 new units designed for seniors, working folks earning less than 100% of the area median income, and fire survivors. A man who hasn't been able to find a stable living situation since the fire has one now at Wacoma Place. And we've had other developments open up. Surfview Village in Newport, another one coming online in Lincoln City. It's just more and more all the time. And also, I think you can look around, you'll see in Lincoln City, Walport, Newport, more market rate housing is developing as well. What we are building is not a vast, new, permanent bureaucracy. We're building a system that can help people, that is helping people. When we brought housing navigators on board, the final 12 people who were at our winter shelter all found permanent, stable situations. And I want to talk about, if we've got time, I'm not sure, an 83-year-old man who made his way to the shelter one evening, completely blind. When he was escorted to the back and shown where his bed was, he sat down on it and he started crying. And fortunately, You know, obviously the shelter was not an ideal placement for him, but within just 2 or 3 days, I believe it was, we were able to get him permanently housed. Those success stories are happening every day and more. Thank you.
Moving on to question 2, Commissioner Hall, you get to go first. Short-term rentals have been a hot button issue in the county for a while. What is your approach to dealing with them?
I'd say to contain the problem, manage the problem, and then step away for a while and look at whether what we're doing is working or not. You know, we had years and years of complaints and concerns from people. You know, for whatever reason, it started in Gleneden Beach, Lincoln Beach, probably the density of the development. But within a couple of years, I was hearing from people from Yachats to Otis about issues with short-term rentals. So we've done several things. We established a map setting 7 areas. We put a cap on licenses in each of those areas. We're beefing up our code enforcement program. We've got a multi-department team now, and I think they're starting to show results. We've also put a hearings officer process in place for SDRs that are the subject of repeat complaints. So that's it in a nutshell.
Rick, do you need to repeat?
No, thank you. There is, without a doubt, at the top of the list of disasters that have kind of visited themselves on this county is this mishandling of this vital revenue source of short-term rentals in the county. Now, the county's not alone in this. Most municipalities and other government entities that are in charge of short-term rentals have completely mishandled the situation. What should have been done 8 years ago when these meetings in Gleneden Beach that Claire referred to were first held was to have a crackdown. I mean, the violations were so egregious. People complained about garbage, about noise, about all of these things. And the county was moribund. It didn't even move on this stuff. And as a result, the entire $5 million a year in STR revenue is threatened. And Claire is at the very point of that spear. She supports, from what I can tell, the elimination of STRs. And because that's the way the county is going. But I think that what needs to happen is the county needs to take a look at the way it manages STRs. There have to be expectations. People have to know that they are going to be booted if their license is at risk. I think a model city right now is the city of Newport, where hardly any complaints have been registered in the last 2 years because the city has cracked down. And by doing that, it saves the neighborhood and it protects that hugely vital revenue stream. Do you realize how much money we stand to lose over the course of the term of a county commissioner? $8–10 million. That's a lot of money. That fixes a lot of potholes. Thank you.
Moving on to question number 3, and Mr. Beasley, you will go first. Lincoln County faces many significant challenges. In your view, what is the most pressing issue the county needs to address?
Well, in my mind, the most pressing issue is one of public safety. Now, if you live in a gated community, or if you live far enough off the beaten track, you may not have noticed that we have these significant crime waves that sweep over our communities. We have data that shows that Lincoln County suffers a higher crime rate than any other county its size in Oregon. There are reasons for this. I hear them anecdotally. I know this, that a good friend of mine who owns a business called me to his business one night because he interrupted a burglary in progress at his business. 3 people on a roof, armed with pickaxes, heavy destruction tools. And the sheriff's department could not be there for 30 minutes in a 911 situation like this. So he called me, and I responded. That's what you do when you're a neighbor. A good friend of mine, Mark Campbell, owner of the Walport Golf Course, murdered in his own home, on his own property, by a meth addict, burglar. So these things are on my mind, and many more. Maybe it's because I'm a reporter, I see a lot of this. But that is the number one. So let me do this, if I may. I just want to read you something that just came in. This is from Curtis Landers, the sheriff of Lincoln County. I have known County Commissioner candidate Rick Beasley for over 30 years, and I am wholeheartedly endorsing him for Lincoln County Commissioner. Rick's proven commitment to our county and the issues surrounding county government, including public safety, make him an ideal candidate. Lincoln County needs a fresh perspective and an effective leader who can address key issues and provide guidance and prioritization for the county's budget. I am confident that Rick will represent all citizens fairly and ensure our county thrives for a better future. That's our sheriff.
Do we have to call Commissioner Hall?
Rick found a website that says Lincoln County crime is up. Here's one called bestplaces.com that says our violent crime rate is actually below the national rate, though we certainly do have more than our share of burglaries, petty assaults, public drunkenness. You have it. I'll say congratulations, Rick, on the sheriff's endorsement. I'm a little disappointed. I felt like the sheriff and I have had a good working relationship through a number of years. When he asked us to put a law enforcement levy on the ballot in 2018, all 3 commissioners did, but only one candidate, and that was me, actually campaigned for it. So when I was thinking 20 years ago about running for this job, could I boil down the essence of it in just a few words? And I really believe the role of a commissioner is to help the community be safer, healthier, and more prosperous. And that hasn't changed.
And we're down to question number 4. Commissioner Hall, you get to go first.
Okay.
Illegal aliens are being allowed to apply for new low-income housing, causing an increased housing shortage for Lincoln County citizens. What is your proposal and why?
Well, this is the first I've heard about it. I don't know what agency or agencies might be doing that. Without more information, I don't feel like I can give an adequate answer.
Mr. Beasley?
That's the first I've heard of that, too. I'm not surprised. We read, Oregonian is a good source for this, for keeping track of what's going on in this area. I would just say this, that I read a figure that we have in the state of Oregon, an estimated 275,000 illegal residents or illegal occupants. What's the term that we should use?
Undocumented.
Undocumented individuals. And you know, and in fact, they probably are refugees. I mean, these people are fleeing just insane conditions that we helped create over the last 7 or 8 decades. But that's not the issue. They're here, but just be aware that this is the problem with not enforcing border policies. It throws our communities into utter chaos. Why do we have such a problem with housing in Oregon? Well, if you add 250, 300,000 people to the mix, your supply evaporates, right? So maybe this is something we can talk to Merkley and Wyden about.
Well, the question number 5, Mr. Beasley, you would go first. What steps have you taken or will you take to serve local veterans?
The only thing I'd say about veterans, because I think, we are ably served by a county office, and I would say that all veterans need help in transportation and moral support. You don't have to agree with every war that we're involved in. Don't take it out on the veteran, I would say. We are strong. Veterans are strong people. I see a number of them in here that I know in this room. They don't want a handout. But I got to tell you, it was nice when the veterans agent gave me a great pair of desert combat boots one day because I looked homeless. So I told him, you knew who I was. But that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hall?
Yeah. Rick, thank you for your service. I didn't serve, but I come from a long family tradition on both sides of military service. And I learned growing up about the compensation and the pension system and how awful that was to try to navigate when my father, who had come home from the Pacific with 5 Purple Hearts, it just seemed like it was a constant in his life. So when I became commissioner, and I realized we only had one part-time person in the Veterans Office, I made it a priority to expand that staff, and through a combination of additional county money and state money, we now have 3 full-time people in that office.
Thank you.
And I was invited to Fight Kate Brown in 2017, I believe it was. Anyway, we the people, passed a ballot measure to double support for county veteran service offices, and Kate or her budget people tried to pull a terrible bait and switch, back that money out. Luckily, I was president of the Association of Counties at the time, and as David Gomberg told me, after the dust had settled, we had won the additional $20 million statewide. He said, suddenly the building was swarming with county commissioners and veterans groups. So I'll always fight for veterans.
Question number 6, Commissioner Hall, you get to go first. With economic changes such as the closure of mills and the decline in tourism, what strategies would you propose to protect and stimulate Lincoln County's economy?
Well, we're in a time of constant economic change. I was saddened to hear about the closure of the small mill in Toledo. I know at the same time the company shut down another small mill in eastern Oregon. Markets are changing. The loss of a fish processor on the Newport Bayfront. I think we have to keep playing to our strengths. Yes, tourism. Yes, the retirees. Did you know this is one of the very few counties in the state where transfer payments, Social Security, pensions and the like, actually exceed earned salary income. And most of these folks who are retiring here, they're comfortably well off, hopefully, and they're great contributors to the community. So, and I think we can keep working to expand the scientific sector. That's steadily growing. Those are good paying scientific research jobs that are going to be here. So we just have to keep looking for opportunities and then pounce on them when they come along.
Well, I would agree with Claire on the scientific end, because we have this remarkable facility at the Hatfield Marine Science Center, really world class. But do you know we're about ready to lose it? That's the word on the street. If we lose the fleet, wherever it goes, back north or wherever, there's talk about that. I'll tell you what, if I were a Lincoln County Commissioner, I'd be working hard to make sure that NOAA continues to stay here and that the Hatfield Science Center is as well protected as we can do it at the county level. Another thing I would do is this. I'd stop vilifying tourism. That's been happening for years. We have to stop this. The leadership has to come from the county. The anti-tourist stuff comes from the county. Now we need to set a new tone. You know, I'm disturbed by all sorts of things in tourism. One is the loss of the bargain motel rooms that have all been converted to, you know, flop houses. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to call it. Recovery centers. So we've lost like a huge portion of our motel industry right there. Stop saying that this is the leisure class. I've heard this term over and over again. When you see a family of 4, mom, dad, couple of kids, parked at a beach, desperate for a breath of fresh coast air, that's not the leisure class, that's the working class. And we need to respect that. And the thing about short-term rentals, the county's bungling, its mishandling of short-term rentals has really redirected, perhaps forever, but hopefully I can restore some of that and convince people that we need them. In fact, if they're well managed, they should be invisible. And they should pay the way for all of us in this room. Instead of getting $5 million, if we got Granicus or some other agency into...
And we have to call time.
Thank you. I think it can be grown. I think we can get $20 million a year out of tourism.
Mr. Beasley, you get to go first again. You both touched on this, but we're going back for a second. According to the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, lack of funding has caused the force to be undermanned, and incident response times have suffered. What is your position and reason why?
Well, I'd take a real close look at this budget and find the money that we need to fully complement our force with deputies and overtime pay and the things they need to protect us. Our welfare budget is as big as our public safety budget in Lincoln County. Combined, I think there is plenty of money in here to, it's a $200 million budget. Do you think we can rearrange that a little bit to make public safety a priority? I think we can. But one thing that has happened, and a huge problem with the budget, is we haven't had a revenue forecast in the last 10 years. It's absolutely imperative that small governments have revenue forecasts to do your planning. Lincoln City, I know, has a very nice revenue forecast, and it makes their city councilors sleep well at night. But it just tells me that we haven't been paying the kind of attention that we need to pay to the budget when we have something like that. But I would definitely find the money to keep our public safety department effective and competitive.
I'm going to assume Rick's talking about Health and Human Services when he talks about our welfare department. And of course, those are federal funds, insurance funds, that come with strings attached to them. Even if I wanted to send a few nurses out the door and hire a few more patrol deputies, I couldn't legally do that. It is a challenging time for recruiting in law enforcement and a lot of other professions. And being the fact that we're in a rural area, even though I think it's a fantastically wonderful place to live, not everybody sees that, and recruiting is difficult. We try to pay competitive wages and benefits, but at the same time, we're never going to be able to match Portland or Eugene or Seattle's salary packages. We are working on new outreach recruiting packages, both for specific departments such as sheriff and HHS, as well as the county in general. But just look at the demographics. You know, this is going to be a challenge, I think, for years to come. Thank you.
We're down to question 8 already. Commissioner, you get to start.
Okay.
What's the single greatest threat to the quality of life in Lincoln County?
I'm going to say climate change, because fisheries, because of the forests, because of the tourist industry. Folks, it's just 4 years since 300 homes burned up. We're seeing more sea level rise. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow or 5 years from now. But if we want future generations to inherit a Lincoln County that they can love as much as we love it, then we have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I like that. I like the idea of climate change being a problem, but it's not a problem that is existential for most of the people in this room, and for the people that are here in the county. I think what is our economy. I don't like the direction of our economy. One of the things that came up is the aging economy. Well, you know, back in 2012, transfer payments, all of the Social Security and all of the 501k and the pensions and everything else surpassed fishing and tourism. And that's our economy right now, is a retirement economy. And that's okay, except it puts a huge burden on the housing. When a house comes up for sale, who buys it? A retiree, a baby boomer coming out of Portland or San Francisco or someplace else. Puts a real pressure on housing. But the economy affects everything. It affects our health. It affects the homelessness situation. So we have to have a robust economy. And our industry is tourism. Again, the county has to establish a leadership role in the tourism industry up here, as it must in the emergency preparation planning and other sectors. The county needs to be the leader. It needs to bring our economy back. And there are ways to do that, and I'd like to be a part of that recovery.
We're down to question 9, and Mr. Beasley, you get to go first. Considering the potential threat of major earthquakes and other disasters, how prepared is Lincoln County, and what steps should be taken to enhance emergency management in the future?
I'm glad you asked that question. Emergency preparedness is something I'm very interested in. I don't want to beat the drum about it. I don't want it to be a constant background noise. What I want to do in my 4 years as a county commissioner is get a bunch of stuff done, all right? I want to get the homelessness problem solved, and I want to get emergency preparedness solved. I want to get it into the background so that we can go about our business so that it doesn't affect real estate prices and it keeps you up at nights. And I think the county, that's the county's role, is to be the leader in emergency preparedness. Every city in this county has an emergency preparedness committee. Some of those committees have a high level of professionalism, like the one in Newport, where they've got a full-time person and I think a part-time person in the department. Or there's Depot Bay, which is all volunteer. But we need the county to step up and take the role as leader of emergency preparation. I think what it should do is it should go out and do things like audits to let cities know if they're doing the right thing. I'll give you an example. I listened to a meeting up in a local town of their emergency preparation meeting. They said, okay, we got 7,500 people here. How much food do we have? Well, we have 7 caches, but they don't have a lot of food in them, okay? So what happens if we have this earthquake and there are 40,000 people in town? And there was a lot of consternation. You know, finally, somebody said, "Oh, well, the citizens of Lincoln City will eat first." And I thought, no, that's not going to happen. So we've got a long ways to go. Wildfire prevention. I mean, we've got to take a role in that. I would like to see wildfire lanes around every city, around every trailer park, around anything that can burn. And we need to get those lines buried. We can't go through this again.
We have to call time.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Same question?
Say, do you need to repeat?
No. You know, frankly, when I came into office 20 years ago, our emergency management program was pretty old school, and I'll just leave it at that. But we had a couple of retirements, and we have taken the opportunity. One of the great moves we made, by the way, was moving emergency management into the sheriff's office and integrating it there. I think the 2000, you know, as I look back, I think the 2011 tsunami, that was a real public wake-up call. And since then, we have just been working steadily, and we have been improving and shaping a more effective and timely disaster response. Look at Echo Mountain, for one example. Thank you.
And Commissioner Hall, you get to go next. Our question number 10. Right now, anyone over the age of 17 that can qualify for an Oregon driver's license is automatically registered to vote and will receive a ballot this October. What is your position on non-citizens voting in Lincoln County?
They shouldn't be, and as far as I know, they haven't been. I know that folks from both parties these last few years have been acting as election observers. I haven't had one report of fraudulent ballot or anything like that coming to me from Dana Jenkins or his successor, Amy Southwell. But if it's happening, it needs to stop.
Well, I feel like this opens the door to election fraud. Now, one of the messages that you may have heard in the media, over not local media, but national media, these voices that you hear, is that there's really no election fraud going on. It's not widespread. There might be little bits and pieces. But I can only, again, look at my own career as a journalist. And time after time after time, I have covered cases of election fraud in Gooding, Idaho, in Oregon City, Oregon, and other places. So I think this just opens the door to election fraud. I don't think there should be any such thing as automatic registration. You know, I haven't thought a lot about it, but I did bring some registration cards with me today. I carry them with me. And what certainly that does is it puts a real human being in the process. And I would never, I would never allow anybody who wasn't a citizen to register. So anyway, that's how I
Mr. Beasley, you get to go first. What is your position on ranked choice voting?
I'm against it. I'm not an expert on it, but I just like the way things are being run. And I'm honestly, maybe I'm just getting too old for all of these changes and constantly being impressed upon us. That I'm not for it. In fact, I love the way that this race between Claire and myself has unfolded. What an exciting race. We started out with 5 people running for office. And I felt, boy, if I get 100 votes, I'll be not so embarrassed, you know? And it's, and I love our clerks. I loved our last clerk, and this new clerk, Amy Southwell, is tremendous. And it gives you a lot of confidence in the system to have people like that. So, thank you.
I'm aware of the concept, but I really haven't taken time to study it in depth. I'd need a lot more information and time to think about it. But yeah, it doesn't feel right. I guess that's what I'd say. Thank you.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
We have 2 more questions.
Okay.
We'd like you to lead on this one.
Okay.
Every year, Lincoln County raises our taxes by 3% because they can.
Yes.
In the last 18 years, that's 54%. And the county's budget continues to increase every year. So what will you do to reverse this practice?
That's a tough one, and the reason I find it hard to answer is, a lot of people say, please reduce our taxes, but when it translates into losing a sheriff's patrol position, closing a pod in the jail, reducing the hours at the assessor's office to halftime, or, that costs increase. We're paying the same utility bills, the same gasoline bills, plus salaries, benefits, equipment. There just does seem to be a disconnect in the public side. Maybe I'm part of it. I mean, in terms of, there was a lot of enthusiasm when that law enforcement levy was promoted in 2018. I was hopeful about it. I heard a lot of people say, yes, we need to strengthen and expand our law enforcement. But when it came time to actually vote funds for it, voters decided otherwise. Thank you.
This is why I'm for a better economy in Lincoln County, because in my experience in the business end of journalism and the business I'm in right now, is if you flood the place with money, you're not worried about homelessness. You're not worried about taxes. When you're coursing the economy with money, we really don't have a lot of problems, and we wouldn't be complaining about taxes. But right now we are. Our economy is not that good. Our permanent tax rate is nearly $3 per thousand. And then to that, we should pat ourselves on the back, maybe, or not. We passed bond measure after bond measure, and that drives up the cost of your tax bill. I don't think you can turn the cost of government back, but what you can do is you can improve the sources of revenue that it's getting. Make sure all of your fees are in order. Quit losing short-term rental income. Work on the short-term rental policies that make them good neighbors. Getting rid of short-term rentals is not going to improve the housing stock. All of the studies state that will not happen. And you can have a bad neighbor that's a full-time neighbor. So we've got to work on making STRs better, and then let STRs pay for that growth then for the police officers that got laid off. We can make $20 million on STRs in this county. We're a destination county. We have to stop turning the clock back on STRs.
We have just one more question, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. I hope you've been thinking about something that we've missed. But our last question, Mr. Beasley, we'd like you to go first. If elected, what attributes make you the best Lincoln County Commissioner?
Oh, I would say the best Lincoln County Commissioner. Boy, there have been some Lincoln County Commissioners that I really liked in my life, and I could never be the best. I think of like Terry Thompson, who's a hero of mine, and other people. Those were different times. What I am is I'm a disruptor, okay? On the city council, I question everything, probably to the point where people get a little tired of me. But it's not just that I'm curious, but I want to know what benefit this spending idea, the spending proposal has. What benefit does it have for the people who live here now? Not for the people that we want to bring in here to occupy $62 million in public housing that was just erected. But for the people who live here now, what are we going to do for the infrastructure? You know, we have crumbling sewer lines in the county. We have bad septic tanks. We have roads that are a mess. Take a deep dive into Glen Eden Beach sometime if you want to take a look at rural sprawl and bad roads. So what I would do is I would dig deep. That's what I do. I dig deep. And I'm not part of the echo chamber. That's one thing. I'm not looking to get along. I'm looking to make the right decision for taxpayers and residents.
Commissioner, I should have said re-elected.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody. I think I'll sum it up with 4 words: experience, knowledge, relationships, results. I've been doing this job for a long time. A lot of people think I've done it well. I'm really hopeful you'd let me keep doing it. One of the things that I've been proud of is in various organizations, I've built working relationships with people of all viewpoints and values. I was really proud to be elected president of the Association of Counties back in 2016, because I didn't just have to win votes from Portland liberals, I had to win them from Malheur County ranchers as well, the guys who called themselves the Maker's Mark Brigade. I'm a bridge builder, a problem solver, I get things done, and if you give me the opportunity, I'll keep getting things done for you.
We actually have a couple of roving microphones. Did we miss something? Who has a question? Raise your hand, we'll bring the microphone to you. Who has the microphones back there?
I have it right here.
Oh, and it's getting ready. Sorry, we got ahead of you. Can you talk loud?
I think so, I don't know.
Let's- Yeah, there we go.
How do you use this? I press?
Just talk to it. You don't have to press it.
I'll just talk? Okay. So, with the recent Olympics, it started me thinking about Title IX and unfair competition and what we see sometimes in university and in high school. So my question is there an issue in Lincoln County about biologic men competing against women? And if so, what's your position on it? And please keep in mind that once a male hits puberty, it doesn't matter how long or how low you get testosterone, they have bigger hearts, bigger lungs, bigger muscles.
You just have to hold it closer to his mouth.
So anyway, that's my question. Are you aware of this? And what would you do about it? What are your thoughts?
Are we getting back there?
Can you repeat it?
He has to talk closer to the mic, that's the problem.
Okay. Commissioner, we're going to let you begin on this one, and each candidate will have a couple minutes to answer. Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did.
And you want to repeat it for the rest of us?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Oh, I repeat it. Well, as I understood, the gentleman's question was, this was in the wake of the last Olympics, whether there is unfair competition happening locally in athletics, biological men competing with women. I don't know where that would happen. I haven't heard the slightest inkling of that, and it's something that's way beyond the scope of my responsibilities as a county commissioner.
Nice slip. That was good. Well, I'll tell you where it does happen. It happens at Toledo High School and Walport High School. When I was covering sports for the News Times, you had females wrestling males in the very bottom weight divisions. And I remember a special teams female on the Toledo football team. I don't think any of these experiments worked out very well. I say experiments, that was the way it was. In terms of, I don't ever remember a female emerging from a traditionally male sport, you know. And I'm uncomfortable with the idea of biological males competing in women's. I feel, first of all, that I'm surprised that more women don't stand up and oppose that. That I am you may be surprised to find out that I consider myself a liberal on all issues. I'm for free speech, I'm for total freedom, absolutist on a lot of things. I'm a do what you want kind of person, and I'm non-judgmental about anything. But there has to be fairness for everybody, fairness for all the children involved, and like Claire, that's all I'm going to say about it. It's, thank God it's not part of the county commission.
We have another question. Microphone, please.
Cheryl? Thank you. Not closer, please.
Stand
Don't
up.
need to push anything on this connection.
Okay, hello. Regarding the two housing projects and their imminent occupancy, the two housing projects that are located in Lincoln City on Highway 101. I'm really concerned about their influence on traffic, auto accidents, crime, the complete deluge of the hospital and medical systems, and I'm wondering what your perspective is and how you intend to address it. Thank you.
And Mr. Beasley, we're going to start with you.
Well, that's a great question. And to me, it embodies the whole issue with government, which is unintended consequences. When people get into office, whether it's at the county level, the city level, or whatever, and start passing laws and accepting grants, this is what you run into. Where is the infrastructure? Now, we've been told that $62 million in public housing is being built in Lincoln County. But where's the infrastructure to support all of this? That's exactly right. Where are the stoplights? Where are the extra cops? Where are the extra physicians? Why are we doing this? Why are we taking care of people that are here now instead of building to bring more people? If we ever have this opportunity again, I would take that $62 million and address the single issue, the single most important issue in housing, as far as I'm concerned, is true workforce housing. And I mentioned how the house comes up, a well-heeled retiree is likely to get that house. On the other end, you have houses that workers make too much money to qualify for on the government supported. Imagine if we would have had $62 million that we could use as an FHA-style loan program for workers. The model is the Grand Ron Triad, which is building 3-bedroom, 2-bath, new houses on a nice lot and selling them for $250,000. Now, I talked to some workers up in the Toledo area who thought that was just right. Young people who were working in mills, unfortunately, that were exposed to it. But, this is the kind of thing that we should be doing for our workers. It's giving them decent housing that gets them on the ladder to wealth and the American dream. Yeah.
We are helping locals. In the beginning, I told you about this man, Michael Haft, lost his home in the Echo Mountain fire, third person to move into Wacoma Place. We are taking care of our own. Best estimate, 2,000 total people meeting various federal definitions of homelessness in the county. 800 of them are school-aged children. That's awful. I hope you think it's awful, but it's not as bad as a few years ago, before all of this awful public housing opened up that Rick's talking about. We had 1,200 students in the district who are homeless. It's working. What we're doing is working. Please open your eyes to what's happening right in front of us.
We're going to go back to, she's been raising her hand for a few questions now.
Okay, I contacted the sheriff's office 2 weeks ago. It costs $190 a day to hold a prisoner. They're there 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Okay, if you put in homeless people into the jail system, 60 days worth. Do you know how much $1 million, how many of those people it will put away for 60 days? 87.8. And you're saying how many homeless people we have? We need the money spent on helping the homeless, not jailing for 60 to 90 days. That's horrible to charge that much, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. It's not going to take a homeless person 3 meals a day in a warm place. So what is the solution of where we use our money for homeless people?
Commissioner, we'll start with you.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but to keep on doing what we're doing and do more of it. We've put together a network, we're still building it, but housing navigators, social workers. Another gentleman I met up at Wacoma Place, he, through a variety of circumstances, found himself homeless several months ago. He was able to get briefly into the Helping Hands shelter, and now he is just thrilled with his new apartment in Wacoma Place. Services, permanent housing. Emergency and transitional if needed, but that's how you solve homelessness.
It's not cruel to take people off the street and to put them in a situation where they can be cleaned up, where they can get sober, where they can be physically assessed, have a doctor and a dentist check their needs, have a psychologist determine if they have some kind of behavior problem, have an alcohol and drug specialist spend time with them every week for weeks on end. And at the end of this, you get out, you get a ticket out. Now that's not all homeless people. That's the chronically homeless. That's somebody who is committing a misdemeanor that draws attention to their reckless behavior or their illegal activity. Those are the people that I'm talking about. The people that Claire is referring to, these homeless kids, they could be living with their grandparent and be considered homeless. They could be living in an RV with their parents and be considered homeless. So there's kind of ways to fudge on those numbers. Bottom line is we should not tolerate homelessness. It's a bad situation. We should do everything we can to end it. I'm not against shelters at all. I'm not against temporary housing. But I also I say to people, anybody, Make yourself useful. If you're gonna take a shelter from the county, then you should be part of the solution in cleanup. We have plenty of areas that need to be cleaned up, and I'm all for paying people to do this. But we gotta put people to work, not just freebies. I'm getting kind of tired of that, actually. It doesn't mean that I'm a meanie, it's just that we have, for example, the lowest worker rate for people that are not looking for
We have to call time.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody go over here, he's been waiting for his question.
No pun intended. It's been said on many occasions that the halls of government benefit from being refreshed on a regular basis. Commissioner Hall has said that, I don't think it's been 20 years, but it's been a number of terms. And I'm not sure if the county commission position has a term limit. And I'm wondering, I'm addressing this to both candidates. Our first president, George Washington, voluntarily stepped down after 2 terms. That's where this tradition started, on being able to turn over government. I wonder how each one of the candidates feels about setting term limits on the county commission position.
Mr. Beasley, we'll start with you.
I just want to say what the term I was trying to get at was the lowest worker engagement rate in the state. More people here between the ages of 18 and 54 don't work than anywhere else in Oregon. And I'm just saying, make yourself useful. Get a job, do something. Okay, I am term limits. Okay, I am the term limit here. If you vote for me, you'll get a new commissioner, and our 20-year entrenched incumbent will go into retirement. It's a gift. I'm doing clarification.
Commissioner, I can hardly wait for this one.
Rick, there are days when I feel that way. I would be opposed to a term limits measure, but if it ever comes before the voters, I think that would be the appropriate way to see what the public sentiment is. You know, we've had long-served commissioners. Mike Miller, back from the 50s to 70s, he did 20 years. Some of you may still remember Don Lindley, who did 21 and a half years of distinguished service to the county in Oregon. I think, of course, there has to be turnover on the commission in any elected body, but as I got to know this county, got to know the recent history, there was almost a 20-year period from the mid-70s to the early 90s. Not one commissioner was reelected. Some of them lost in the primary, some lost in the general, some stepped down, and the result was chaos and a lack of leadership at the top. Yeah, I'm in my 20th year now. Commissioner Jacobson is in her 6th year. Commissioner Miller is in his 2nd year. I think it's great to have a variety of perspectives, experience, ages on, on our county commission. Thank you.
Yeah, she's next. Been waiting patiently. Here comes your microphone.
What can commissioners do to get our Newport Dam repaired or rebuilt?
Okay. This is a short question, Commissioner. We'll start with you.
That's a city project, but every time we've been asked to do letters of support, talk to congressional staff, we've done it, but the city is the one driving that.
You're talking about the Newport Reservoir? Yeah, that's a big project. I think it's well underway. I think the city's got it in hand. I am so glad that the city decided to do that, to replace those dams on the reservoirs. Because they were looking at Rocky Creek, to dam Rocky Creek. And that is my pet area up there. I hunt Rocky Creek, I fish Rocky Creek. It has its own run of cutthroat trout. It's got probably 5 or 6 herds of elk that just stay in that area. And I'm very glad that our timber companies here have gated the roads to keep the garbage tossers from going up there. It's very beautiful. If you get a chance, walk Rocky Creek sometime. But I wouldn't worry about the Newport reservoirs. Newport has got a really quality municipal government. It's done a very good job of advocating and lining up money. It's being done in a very methodical fashion. I'd be very proud of the people who are doing that if I were in Newport.
We're going to go right here.
Lincoln County is a vast,
Please stand.
you're not very
Thank you.
tall.
Stand up.
Lincoln County is a vast area as far as land-wise. I'm wondering what the county can or is doing to assist in the cleanup of encampment and debris and abandoned vehicles in our forests, county parks, and roads within the county.
Mr. Beasley, we'll start with you.
This is a huge problem. You know, one of the people that was in this race was before the primary and was knocked out. He, I think, was the 3rd highest vote getter. There's a fellow by the name of Ryan Parker. He's on the city council in Newport, and he is a park ranger. And he describes these encampments as a biological environmental hazard. Okay? Now, I went to an emergency preparation meeting in Newport, and I was talking to a firefighter, and I said, you know, one of the nice things about Newport is that you have all of these streams feeding into the town, so you've got a nice fresh supply of water in case the water plant goes down. He says, yeah, but the problem is you have an outbreak of cholera inside of 2 weeks. All of these streams are contaminated with fecal bacteria from the numerous transient camps around the area. This is why we need to do what the state of Oregon has empowered us to do, to put a location that we can live with and the homeless can live with, to put them in and to get them off public property. It's a safety hazard. It's unsafe for them. It's unsafe for us. This has got to come to an end.
We're doing that just now. We have committed $500,000 to cleanup of these RVs that are being wantonly dumped in our forests. They are an environmental hazard. They are, dangerous, but unfortunately, because of the presence of asbestos and a lot of things, the cleanup and remediation is extremely difficult, but we're making headway.
We have time for 2 questions. One on the side.
My question is, as most of us will be traveling over to the Highway 101 between Otter Rock and Newport, is constantly sinking and is really a driving hazard, but it stays that way. I've lived here for 7 years now, and every year it's under constant repair. What is the county, or what can the county do to get this corrected in a more timely manner than just repairing pieces?
Commissioner, we'll start with you, please.
Well, I've lived here 38 years, and it's been slipping that whole time, and if anybody's been here longer than that, I'm sure you'll agree the same. Unfortunately, because it is a state highway, our abilities are limited. You know, the legislature is doing a dog and pony roadshow around the state to see if people would be willing to accept tolling, other alternatives to generating the revenue. I mean, we are desperately behind on being able to pay for projects like that. But my understanding is the geology of that spot is the long-term fix, which would probably involve moving the highway inland quite a bit. The cost is just astronomical, and I doubt we'll see it in our lifetimes.
Mr. Beasley?
Well, this is one of the issues that comes with living in an area that is geologically unstable and dangerous. I've been told by somebody I know in ODOT that nobody in ODOT wants to come to the coast to live. This is kind of a dangerous place, okay? That's why we all have to be prepared at home. We all have to be ready for emergencies. That's why we can't have a lot of people just sitting around. We're going to end up taking care of. Just a thought. A long time ago, they tried to get people interested in a bypass of that particular section of the highway. Nobody wanted that. They want to be close to the ocean to be able to see that. I've heard that there's about 60 feet of blacktop at that place in the road that you're talking about. I've done stories on it. Anyway, it's just something that we're going to live with. And that thing is going to go out someday. You may not have been here long enough, but Cape Foulweather, Highway 101, slid in one day. Just to get to Newport, you had to go all the way around to Eddyville or, Celeste. So these are issues that we deal with living here at the coast. Be prepared. That's all I can say. Good luck.
We have time for one last question.
Hi, Commissioner Hall. You said that one main thing that threatens us is climate change. How much money do you think is going to take to help that? I don't think there's any amount of money, and I may have a little solution for you. If you were to get rid of the United States or China, which one you get rid of first to help with your climate change?
It's a global problem. We can't solve it ourselves. No country can solve it ourselves. But I just really feel we have a moral obligation to the people who will follow us on this planet to do what we can. Thank you.
Mr. Beasley, we're going to cut you down to 1 minute on this answer.
All right, very good. First of all, I just want to say that I'm against these wind farms out here. These wind farms are never going to produce enough. Anything that harms the cycle of life, whether it's a spray up in the woods or if it's cables that slice our whales, that should be not done. We should practice conservation. The county commission can be in the driver's seat on that. Practice conservation. And we have a mass transit system that suffers from, frankly, itself because it's not that good of a mass transit system. We need one that workers, children, people can use to access everything. The best connections from here to Salem, Oregon, and that can be done. So.
Wow. We want to thank all of you for being here today. We've got a couple of great candidates here. It is time for closing remarks. We're going to start with Mr. Beasley for 3 minutes, and we'll give Commissioner Howell the final say-so.
Again, I want to thank everybody for coming here. I consider you all to be my friends, and I'm very fond of everybody in this community. So thank you. And Claire, thank you, Claire. Really, I've known Claire for 3 decades. We are actually good friends, and I never wanted to be a county commissioner. I hoped for at least the last 4 years that the right person would step forward and help in this chaos at the courthouse. Over those 4 years, I mean, it just built up. We've endured these kind of laughingstock COVID policies. I won't even go into that. I think you all know about it. We've witnessed in painful slow motion the mismanagement of key economic assets like our short-term vacation rentals and the subsequent loss of irreplaceable streams of revenue that are going to cost this county. We wonder how we're going to pay for our police. Well, we're losing. We're hemorrhaging those funds right now. Handed a $1 million grant to solve homelessness, our county adopted a costly and impractical plan with no end in sight. Now add to this list the catastrophic erosion of public safety. I felt a little choice that I had to step forward. I really didn't want to do it, but I think that I'm going to give myself a couple of years to get in there and work hard to make change. In a way, I've spent a lifetime preparing for the work of a county commissioner. Every job I've ever held in one way or another has made me a vigilant person, alert to injustices, wary of pet projects, attentive to financial risk, and protective of the rights of others. I also hate lawsuits, and I try to figure out ways to avoid it. I endeavor to protect the rights of citizens and city employees in the job I have right now, who sometimes find themselves bullied by petty government tyrants. Now, I always ask one question of policy and spending, and how does this benefit the residents, the people on whose backs we spend millions of dollars? Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for being here today. Thanks for a really spirited discussion. Thank you, Rick. Although I do feel obligated to note that our yearly transient room tax revenues in the county are $3 million a year. You had it right in May, Rick. It's not 10 million, it's 3. You know, one of the most amusing moments for me so far in this campaign was a Facebook comment talking about our respective race here. And a gentleman wrote, "I'm okay with either one of them. They're both pretty much the same." Well, I don't know, I hope this preceding 9 minutes have showed you we really aren't the same. And Rick's a disruptor. I think of myself as a builder. I work to maintain a wide range of relationships in the community and beyond. I'm always looking for ways to bring people together for positive results. Rick called me a cynic at one point. That's a first. Most people call me a relentless optimist. I've even been accused of toxic optimism. But I believe in this county. I believe in its people. I believe that things are not as bleak as Rick paints them. Not nearly as bleak. Why aren't there empty storefronts, empty houses, empty apartments by the dozens and dozens? Why isn't the last moving van out of the county being asked to turn out the lights? It's because we're not failing. We're not going down the tubes of disaster. We're growing. We're thriving. I'll never run Lincoln County down, but I'll always do my best to keep it up.
Give yourselves a round of applause. We appreciate it. All of you received a raffle ticket when you walked in. We're going to have a drawing. What are we giving away? $2 million. Wow.